welcome. It's wonderful to have you on this platform. This is where we have all sort of conversations, but mostly about who we are, about home, especially for people who have moved, about belonging, about the encounters that we have, things that we learn. I'm talking about encounter. I think that since I met you, we've been having series of conversations really
Yeah.
about our life here in Thunder Bay,
hmm
in Canada,
hmm
um, in comparison to our life in Nigeria,
mm
talking about fitting into a new environment, the changes that, we have to make, that even people that we encounter also have to adjust. So, in order not to talk too much, let me bring you into the conversation, first of all, to tell us who you are.
Okay. My name is Kelechi. Kelechi Chukwu. So I came to Canada to do my master in education, and I graduated last year. And currently, I found a new hobby. Anyways, because my dad was a professor before he left the world, and he wrote so many books. And while he was writing, I was also, I kind of like the craft. So, but I didn't know how to fix in things. So till now, with the challenges so far, I'm kind of being pulled to, start documenting. And from documentation, it started making sense.
Hmm.
And where I am now is that I've started breaking it down in chapters. So
Okay.
just from documenting what I feel that is pleasant and was unpleasant to me, and then
Right.
that making sense, turning into a full book, which I never expected.
Wow.
So it
Wow.
just taught me a new book. So I guess let me use the word I'm a writer, and I'm currently developing a book titled Stairs and Silences, which has to do with migrating, the challenges that Black immigrants are likely to face. And this is actually coming from my personal experiences, observations, and I had to fix in a little bit of hearsay
Right.
and also a little bit of data from Canadian source as well
Right.
to put up the writing. So that's where I am.
Wow. Wow. So it's not so much a new hobby as it is a family heritage since you're
It, it seems like it. It seems like it.
it's amazing how, like you said, from just documenting, daily experiences, you
Mhm.
realize that you've got something,
Yeah,
really amazing,
exactly.
like
Exactly.
turn into a book. Uh, I was struck by the title of the book, Tears and Silences. Like, what inspired the title?
Yeah, a few things that I added in the book kind of inspired it. My very first experience coming in Thunder Bay, trying to go to school in the morning, and I had to take the bus, and I kind of find that the seat near me, it's just like two-seater, So I sat down, I kind of moved inside a little bit to make space for another person that wants to sit. And surprisingly, I found people standing. Like nobody wanna sit near me. So I thought, what's going on? Like, it becomes strange. I just noticed and I'm like, I kind of, waved it aside and it kept happening.
Hmm.
They rather stand than sit near me.
Hmm.
It kept on happening. Even early morning buses at times that get filled to the brim, that it kept happening. Then I shared it with my friends, a Ghanaian friend, and he was like, "Why would that same thing happens to him as well?" I was like, "What's really going on?" So I started wondering. I started asking myself questions: whether is it the way I dress?
Hmm.
Do I smell that bad? you know, I started asking, like, what could be the issue? Like what's going on? So that was where I started start noticing these things. It kept happening. Then another thing was I went to Sault Ste. Marie with a friend. So we went to Toronto on our way back. So we decided to pass the night at Sault Ste. Marie. So when we stopped there in the morning, we wanted to go get breakfast. I think it was on a public holiday. I've forgotten the particular one. So we stepped into this restaurant that was filled up. Immediately we went inside the restaurant, like everybody stopped.
Mm.
The silverwares, the plates, the clinking, the noises, every stuff, like they pause, like to turn and look at who the hell are these people? And we walked from the from the door to where the cashier waitress was. So we went there and we were walking through that. A lot of things keep going in my mind, like what the hell is going on? Why did everybody pause? Like, are we not humans? Like, haven't they seen people like us before? Then when we got there, the waitress, she noticed it that we were kind of bit, we were kind of bit cautious, and she tried all she could do to make us feel at home, trying to offer us the best seat, the best spot, trying to tell us about the discounts, the interesting things that they have in the restaurant. But man, we couldn't stay. My friend was like, we had to go. I said, yeah, we had to go. Like, I can't eat properly here. And on our way going, we both of us feel like, already, all set, fist folded in the pockets, working out already, like, however it was, So when we stepped out, we had this cold moment driving for almost 1 hour. We didn't talk to each other, and we were quite very cold. It was a little bit terrifying as well.
Wow.
So those are the major issues that actually prompted me to start.
I see. Wow. Would you say, and so this was when you first came, would you say that, because when I first came to Thunder Bay, when I came to Canada, I lived in Winnipeg, and then I moved to Thunder Bay like 3.5 years ago. Thunder Bay wasn't at the time as it is today in terms of, the number of people, the students, diversity you just see. Things have really changed. Just through the optics, you see the difference. Would you say from when you came up to this point, things have changed a little bit? Like if you would contrast that experience that you had from what you are having now, have there been any changes for you, or have you had to make some adjustments in order to feel more comfortable?
Yeah, if I hadn't had those experiences, I wouldn't have delivered the trigger in me to like notice when I'm being unseen or when I'm being hyper visible. So because of that, I'm beginning to start picking the little things usually I wouldn't have picked. Like something happened on very recent. I went to Kenora and we were having a dinner, and we were like 10. I happened to be the only one standing by the color of my skin. So I sat at the edge, and this guy came in. He's from a different our union. He's from a different locality altogether. So he came in. He had to introduce himself to everybody, and they shook hands. This is me, and he kind of skipped me, like. So he skipped me. So it's not about just Thunder Bay. It's about like I have, it's only when you start paying attention to these things, and depending on how they are affecting you, that's where you start counting all those things.
Right. Yeah, someone calls them banal or even benign. I don't want to necessarily say the word, but racism, right? Yeah, that they are so subtle. Sometimes if you don't pay attention, you don't even notice. It could just be somebody even asking you, hey, where are you from? And then all of a sudden it triggers something. You start wondering, what should I tell this person? Am I Canadian, or should I talk about my heritage from another place before coming? So those reminders, somebody calls them disorientation, that all of a sudden you are like, okay. The other day I was also taking a walk, and there was this woman holding a dog, and the dog was looking at me, and the lady, an older lady, she said to me, oh, I'm so sorry, the dog hasn't seen your kind before. That was trying to be nice to apologize for the dog.
Yeah.
I was just like, I actually was lost for words. Like the dog hasn't seen
Yeah.
my kind. They were out there
Yeah.
in the park.
You know,
You would expect that the dogs must have at least seen one of my kind.
yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah, and I also, of course, know that you have family here in Thunder Bay. But beside your family, generally, your observation about um, people coming into Thunder Bay, especially people coming from where we came from,
Yeah.
what have you noticed? What have you observed? And maybe you can get into the subject matter of your book when you talk about the stairs and silences from your observation of both your experience here, but what other people are also experiencing.
Well, from people coming in, like I've had multiple, not really multiple. Like I had this girl, and she's quite young, and the parents kind of asked her to school here, and found out they're mostly should I use the word depressed
Mm,
in some certain way, and like being a black immigrant, some of us we send our kids here when they're not quite prepared.
mm,
Because being a black immigrant, you have to know that you need to have what, let me use the common word back home, have to have some level of shock absorber. Yeah, because the odds are actually stacked against you.
mm,
The odds are stacked against you in everywhere, in housing, in employment. The employment aspect, it's happened to me. Like I had to change up my name. Yeah, I have to use Vincent. Like I don't have to use my, because you know the advice someone gave me was that, oh, when you put your full name, it sounds somehow, they might not necessarily call you. Invite that if you have an English name, you can use the English name, to I was like, really? And then I had to use my English name, and it happened that's how I'm able to get my very first job. And the younger ones who are coming in, they like when you're not prepared for the challenges, you find out that the little things can really throw you overboard. The little things can really get to you easily and very fast. So I've seen a lady that she came here with the kids, and she came to my house one time, and we were having a conversation, and she said how they called a child in school called her son a monkey.
mm.
And I was like, what did you do? He said, nothing. I said, really? You didn't do anything? He said, yeah. I said, okay, fine. At least next time, try and let the school know. Because it's not, and that's another thing. Like we've internalized this set of racism and treatment so much that we don't really bring it out in the open. We just see like this is how it's supposed to be. Some of us will come in, mourn about it, cry about it, be quiet about it. They just talk to a friend, and next thing you see, they start, developing this thicker skin. And the thicker skin, like I said in my book, when you're trying to build your confidence, sometimes you cross the boundary because there's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. Being arrogant, and when you're being arrogant, you're actually gonna you are taking it out on the people. Sometimes taking it out to the very innocent people that don't even, some are very nice that you just have to take it out. Sometimes you act in a very odd way in open spaces. It's just you trying to, maybe that it's been too much for you. Like you want to show you this or you that, you want to just take it out. So most recent immigrants, I feel that they need a lot. They need to build a thicker skin, and they need to also find a community where they can be appreciated, accepted, and be loved. And they are mostly on their own, like single, when you're on, you kind of go through everything on your own, and definitely at one point you might feel a kind of a bit depressed, or you feel out of place, or you're not wanted. And when you start noticing those kind of things, you find out if you're a student, it start affecting your grades, it start affecting you totally. So I think there's a lot of challenges for the young black migrants.
Right.
That. Yeah.
Wow. You've said a lot in there, and especially when it comes to adjusting in order to feel a sense of belonging. You say you had to even
Yeah,
change your name. Of course,
yeah.
Vincent is your name, but
It's my
you would have preferred to go with Kelechi.
yeah.
Uh, but and it doesn't stop there, right? So people have to change accents, they have to change the way they dress, they have to change
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kind of food they eat, so it doesn't.
Yeah,
Some people
yeah,
their food give off certain kind of smell depending on where they live.
yeah.
Where do we stop changing? When do we stop changing?
It's you stop changing when you start accepting yourself, self acceptance. That's where you stop changing, because the issue of changing accents that dealt with me. It really dealt with me. Like I remember trying to, I stand in a YouTube, like I was playing YouTube. I stand in the mirror trying to, change up some kind of way that I speak, to make sure that it sounds nice. I stop using my usual I want to. I switch it up to wanna. I'm going to. I'm gonna. I try to sound nice, but that's not the essence of communication. At least after a while, when I started accepting myself, I started, instead of working on trying to sound like them, I rather work on clarity. Let me speak and let you hear what I'm saying. And some can weaponize that as well. Some can use that as a weapon. Like I had a colleague that no matter how I worked with this colleague for 6 months, for Christ's sake, and still pretend that she doesn't hear me. Like I'm like, really? Despite the fact how hard I try to. So sometimes because we're in the same job, the same role. So when some people want to act some kind of way of superior to you, they find a way to like trying to bring you a little bit down, and they can use anything to make you feel like you're out of place, like you're not being seen, and that has to do with accent. And also when I was going to Hamilton, I stopped at Toronto airport. So when we were on our way out, I heard this man, like the guy was using the whole phoneme, speaking and sounded like Oyibo. When I mentioned it to my friend who is a local as well, he was my landlord my first time I came, and he told me that sometimes switching up accents, it can sound so offensive and very annoying, especially when you're not actually pronouncing the things properly, the words properly, but you're just quoting it, just following the rhythm, like the tone, as if you're singing, like, because you hear they speak that way. You're trying to make. And he told me one thing. He said that this is a communication. Speak the way you speak. It's not left for the ear that's listening to adjust to listen and understand you. That's how I picked it, and that's how that has been helping me out. Then you mentioned something about the way we dress. I will say about the dressing aspect of it, it's also helped me because I started noticing that, like this old saying that you dress the way you want to be addressed. That doesn't mean it has to be Gucci or true or Versace or true, but let it just be neat and clean and presentable. Because I've had the issues with some of our black immigrants that I had one particular guy that always on black on black. I'm like, come on, switch it up a bit. Just switch it up a bit,
Yeah, my mom used to tell me that growing up. She was like, you can't have the skin and be putting black.
switch it up a bit. Like you need to switch it up, and you feel this kind of there's this kind of comment that they will make sometimes about your dressing, and you feel good about it for the time being. Like, oh, I like your dressing. It looks nice. So where did you buy this? And sometimes they say from Nigeria. Nigeria? So that then I had to brag. I'm like, yeah, go check Nigeria up. We're among the most dressed people in the world. Go check it out. Our fashion sense is on a high level. Go check it out. That's what I start bragging. And it makes me feel good that for that, that little while, like, yeah, at least, so.
Yes, we've got something going for us there.
Yeah, we got something going for us.
Actually, I've met a few people, mostly also from Nigeria, who came here and were complaining about how people dress. And So this is the other way around now. So they would say that this place doesn't encourage them to dress properly. Like, so they came with this idea that they would always be in suit or in a dress, in heels, and all of a sudden they realize people just put on a hoodie or a short and slippers, and they were like, really? So they don't feel encouraged to actually, dress to the nines. But
Yeah, yeah, but ask yourself, how do you look with what you're wearing? I think that's what first, like, how do I look with what I'm wearing? Am I dressing to fit in,
yeah,
or am I dressing to look me and look good?
yeah,
Like, I always dress to look me and look good.
yeah,
I'm not dressing to fit into the narrative. If I feel like I love wearing suits, trust me, I'll be wearing. I don't care if the other person is wearing suit or not. But if that's how I want to feel, like I want to feel good on my suit, and the suit I add a little bit of
yeah.
some kind of crazy design in it, and I feel good about it. Yeah, so that's it.
We must also accept that the weather situation here affects our dressing a lot,
Yeah,
especially during the winter,
yeah,
which is the longest kind of season, to be honest, in a year. You just want
yeah.
to keep warm. You don't even think much about
Exactly, exactly. You need to
it.
keep warm as well. I keep warm, but I also make sure that I have nice kinds of jackets to keep warm with it, because it you sometimes, like, I've worn jackets and people walk up to me and ask me, "Wow, I like your jacket. Where did you get it from?" And I'm sorry, but sometimes I'm shameless. When they ask me that, I go straight. Someone asks me, I say, "Oh, I got it from Timo. It's not Versace. I got it from Timo." I just say.